Welcome to the Skill Builder session on literature reviews. Literature reviews are a very common feature of academic work. They are a summary of what existing scholarship already knows about a particular topic. For this reason, they are frequently situated near the beginning of a thesis or dissertation, directly after the introduction. They are often used to set the scene as a prelude to further academic research. They should focus primarily on relevant, up-to-date academic literature produced by experts. And they should assess literature critically, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of arguments surrounding a topic. Preparing a literature review is a straightforward process. First, you will search for reliable, accurate and up-to-date material on a topic or subject. You will read and summarize the key points from this literature, discussing and evaluating the main ideas, theories and concepts. You will then synthesize all this into a summary of what is known. In doing so, you will highlight not only areas of consensus, but areas of debate or controversy and gaps in the knowledge. This will prepare the ground for your own research which, for example, may seek to fill in a gap that you have identified. You will need to focus your search to find the right material. So, before you start, ask yourself a few questions. What is the specific question, topic or focus of my assignment? Am I clear about what I'm looking for? What kind of material do I need? Is it data, policy, theory or argument? If so, where would be the best place to find it? What type of literature is available to suit my needs? Would it be journals, textbooks, government documents or a mixture? And what kind of literature and whose voices are particularly authoritative in my subject? Now you know what you're looking for, the task is to find the substantial, up-to-date academic books, journals, articles and other publications you need. There are several avenues open to you. You can choose one or two books or articles recommended in your module guide and scan through the bibliographies provided by their authors. You can enter key, highly focused words into Kent's library catalogue search engine and scan results for the most relevant sources. You can browse the library bookshelves, examining book titles, contents pages, introductions and indexes to locate relevant texts. As well as external online resources such as Google Scholar, you can find up-to-date journal articles online via the Indexing Services button on the Templeman Library website or Drillhall Library Catalogue. How much you need to review can vary. It will depend on several factors: the length of the dissertation, the nature of the subject, the role of the review in your work. For example, is it simply setting the scene or is it more integral to the core study? And finally, the level of study, whether it is for an undergraduate, master's or PhD assignment. The best advice is to clarify this with your lecturer or supervisor. But as a rough rule of thumb, you may review, say, 8 to 10 major pieces, books or articles for an 8,000 word dissertation, and up to 20 major pieces of work for 12 to 15,000 words, and so on. Your selection of material should do the following. It should be wide enough to include all major relevant, interesting material, allowing you to explore all the major viewpoints surrounding your topic. At the same time, it should be narrow enough to exclude irrelevant material. Finally, it should be sufficient for the level of your dissertation or thesis, be it PhD, master's or undergraduate. Having located the most appropriate material, you'll need to assess and evaluate it. To do this, you will need to ask lots of questions, such as, what are the points made by the author? Are they supported by convincing evidence and argument? Are there flaws in the author's research, methodology or logic? Has the material been written from a particular perspective? Has the author explored alternative viewpoints or theories? And much more. Your notes for each text should therefore include a summary of the key points or arguments made in the text, notable supporting evidence, quotations, clearly identified, examples or case studies, your critical observations concerning the strengths and weaknesses of the arguments and evidence presented, and an overall evaluation of the text's scholarly contribution to the relevant field of study. You should also note down the bibliographic details of the source so that you can reference it accurately at the end of your work. Whether your literature review is a standalone assignment or part of a larger piece of work, like a dissertation, it will need a beginning, middle, and an end. An introduction will set out your strategy for selecting the material, indicating how you will present your analysis of it. The main body of your review will present your analysis of the literature in a logical order, such as text by text, in which you assess one book or journal article at a time, theme by theme, in which you group texts together around key ideas or approaches, and finally, chronologically, in which you assess the genesis of ideas around a topic. You will complete the review with an overall conclusion summarizing its key findings and highlighting any gaps in the knowledge which perhaps you may be hoping to fill with your own research. Here is an example of how those three potential structures work: text by text, theme by theme, and chronological. Theme by theme is often chosen because the same structure can be mirrored in later sections of a dissertation, where you may also, for example, present findings theme by theme. This slide gives you an idea of the kind of tone and content in a literature review for each of the ways the review might be structured. You can see from the way it is written that this is purely an analysis and evaluation of the literature surrounding the topic. When writing your literature review, remember to avoid overuse of quotes or overlong descriptions of text. Summarize and evaluate what you think is most important about the text you are examining. Convey an objective, tentative tone, it could be argued, for example. Write clearly and succinctly, with all your sources referenced accurately. Allow time for editing and proofreading to eliminate errors before submission. Finally, remember that what you are writing is a summary of what the literature says about a topic, as distinct from an essay in which you present arguments and use the literature to support them. If your literature review is part of a larger document, such as a dissertation, which might involve discussing your research methods and your research findings, you can refer back to your literature review. You can use it to explain your choice of methodology in the context of methodologies used by others. You can also use it to highlight similarities, differences and contradictions between your own findings and those summarized in your literature review, and go on to discuss the reasons for them or their implications. Referring back to past studies will demonstrate that you have learned from and are enhancing and building on the work of previous scholars. For guidance on the broader range of skills needed to complete a literature review, please go to the SAS web pages www.kent.ac.uk/SAS, where you can book a one-to-one appointment with an SAS advisor, or find more online skill builder sessions which include effective reading and note-taking, critical analysis and academic language.